lucky enough to get a lot of operation right from the delivery to right. We found that the main issue was that the two postmortem reports. The two postmortem reports, though they were not very explicit, they were implicit about the fact that it was a drowning death, and they were silent about whether it was murder or not. Though they said that actually Goa police should investigate, Goa police on the other hand passed the buck on to the postmortem reports to say that it is an accident. And as a result, they did not investigate into anything very deep. So the first thing that we did was we got all data, the postmortem reports, the first inquest report, the second inquest report, and we had a video of the inquest. And we went around meeting alternate forensic independent doctors or experts. We were lucky enough to find one such expert whose name I cannot disclose right now, but who has given a written report and who is willing to stand by it in any court of law. What I can say about the expert is that he is a very accomplished expert who is at least as qualified as Dr. Rodrigues, who is the head of forensic department of Goa Medical College. And this expert was heading a very prominent forensic department of a very prominent hospital in Pinto. So he looked at both the postmortem reports, he looked at the inquest video, and he looked at the inquest reports. And here is his report. Of course, these reports are best interpreted by experts. And he, for instance, is willing to depose about these reports in a court of law. But since this issue has become so public, I will read out a few parts, and what I believe based on this expert is that there is enough doubt that this is not an accident case, that is based on this report, which can of course be also refuted by our eminent panel of doctors of GMC. I am not saying that this is what he is saying is the truth and what GMC is saying is the false. But this is an important alternate viewpoint. And in fact, he hasn't actually criticized the second postmortem report in this, but he has added more things to it which have not been said by the second postmortem report. He has directly criticized the first postmortem report, but he has added to the second postmortem report. So I will read out a few parts from this. And the most important part I will read out first. What he is saying is this, and he quotes the absence of external and internal injuries to the head. This is on page 2. Literature, Gladwell's legal medicine, Adelson's the pathology of homicide, etc. state that, and in this, number 2, a person can be rendered unconscious even if there are no external or obvious internal injuries. A. When a soft, hard, blunt object, example like cosh, is used to inflict the blow. B. In the recognized pathological condition called concussion, stunning in lay terms, defined as a transient state of unconsciousness caused by the application of blunt force to a moving head, resulting in physiological disruption of brain function without any visible organic injury. The damage is at a microscopic level to the parts of the brain called neurons and axons. Both of the above statements, he says, can be confirmed by Professor Rodrigues. So this is one of the things that he's saying, and of course he criticizes criticizes a lot about the post-mortem reports. Okay, about the diatom test, in the conclusion A, he says the positive diatom test, although conclusive evidence that Father Bismarque was alive at the time of immersion at the place where he was alleged to have gone swimming, does not offer any clue as to the circumstances of his death. In other words, and this is my interpretation, that if he was made unconscious and he was still alive and thrown in the water, the second postmortem and the first postmortem would still be consistent with that particular possibility. And B, given the history of his consumption of alcohol before he went swimming, one, why the autopsy surgeon who conducted the first postmortem examination did not specifically request analysis for the presence and level of ethyl alcohol in the viscera, and why he did not preserve blood and urine needs to be ascertained. So he actually is saying that the person who did the autopsy has to be questioned. In addition, what alcohol he had consumed, how much and how long before he allegedly went swimming could perhaps be determined by reinterrogation of the owner of the establishment where he went and from the persons with whom he was last seen. In other facts, obviously if you go through it, you will find basically what he is saying is CSFL, the laboratory, will not answer questions for you unless you specifically ask them. So, questions regarding alcohol, etc. had to be specifically asked to the CSFL lab. So, basically what has happened here is definitely that the first postmortem report was sloppy and negligent and did not comment on a number of things, did not preserve what was needed, did not ask the CFSL the right questions. And the second postmortem report, although was correct, it did not explicitly say that the person can be rendered unconscious even if there are no obvious external or internal injuries, which he is actually interpreting the second postmortem report in a different manner, and he actually says that Dr. Rodrigues, who is the head of the forensic department of GMC, may probably not disagree. So I believe that such an interpretation based on the two postmortem reports should lead to at least filing an FIR against unknown people and then the investigation. But with our talks with the cops, we found that they did not do this. Now this has been sent to the cops only yesterday, and we hope that they will look at this and take certain action. Why it was not sent before? Because we were working with the cops in doing the investigation, and our understanding was that the case is still open and we would have given this to the cops along with the results of our investigation. And suddenly we found this in the news. We came to know about the closure of the case through news, and then we contacted the cops, and then we said that yeah, we have this, and that's why we decided to have this press conference and ensure that this case is not closed prematurely. We are also doing a private investigation, but results at this point cannot be made public. That's all.